So it was Kildare 13 points, Kerry 110. Just finished up watching the third game over on TG Cahir there between Kildare and Kerry. And this is the match reaction, of course, here as always on GAA Fan TV. So feel free to get your comments in or let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments down below. But yeah, this was a weird game, wasn't it? A bit like a lot of the games today, very slow stop-start, and this was probably the more entertaining of the three games that was on TG Cahir today. But yeah, like I'm kind of, if you're a Kerry fan, you're probably scratching your head there thinking, how on earth did you not win that game? Because it seemed home and hose really going into the final 10 to 15 minutes. It seemed like it seemed very much finished from a Kerry point of view. They seemed, like they were going to cruise to victory really at one stage, especially in the second quarter, just after Killian Spallan's goal. They really, I think built up a 5-point lead at that stage, and you were thinking Kerry are probably going to kick on from here because they were a little bit slow to begin with in the opening 5 to 10 minutes in Kildare, who hit the first 2 points, probably started the brighter in the game up until Killian Spallan's goal. But I think Kerry were just really poor in the second half. Their midfield was really poor throughout the game. Didn't quite understand Sean O'Shea being named in midfield. Didn't really make. I know he finishes today with 3 points, and obviously a few of them are frees, but he didn't quite have the same influence on the game that he would have, when he's playing in the half forward line, playing in the number 10 role. So him being named in midfield was a little odd, in my opinion. And I know he kind of drifted in and out of midfield and sometimes did find himself as an extra forward. But yeah, just really poor around there, and poor decision making at times from Kerry as well. A little bit slow, sloppy passes, especially in the final third. And the decision making in the final third was just a little bit poor. And they struggled to close out the game. They struggled to see out the game, and it's probably been a problem that Kerry have probably had for the last couple of years. Really, it was something they had on their Peter Keane. You think back to the Cork game, for example, even Dublin 2019, where they struggled to close out those games. So definitely a lot of things to work on. Jack Nolte says there, Kerry too lateral today, lacked potency, but it's only league and first game, but definitely to work on things too defensive at times too. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they play under Jack O'Connor. I mean, there probably is going to be a lot more emphasis maybe on Kerry's defense in the league this year, especially with Paddy Tally coming in. There's obviously going to be a bit more emphasis on closing out that defense and letting your forwards go to work. I suppose at the opposite end of the pitch, but like they weren't super defensive around like that, but they just probably didn't really show enough energy going forward, and it wasn't really the same Kerry that we would have seen in the league last year, where they were completely ripping teams to shreds. And look, it is just one game; it's a draw. Kerry fans won't remember this game come the end of the year. They'll be thinking about the All Ireland or Munster titles, obviously being thereabouts in the All Ireland season, but generally speaking, it was a little bit sluggish. But from a Kildare point of view, I thought they were very impressive at different stages in the game. In particular, Paddy Woodgate, who came in there. I believe he was a part of the 2018 under-20 All-Ireland winning squad. So I thought he was very impressive. Like, he finished today with 3 points, and Jimmy Hoyland with 6 points in there as well. It's been a brilliant find for Kildare over the last couple of years. And Daniel Flynn didn't even get on the score sheet. Thought he played well at different stages in the game, but Kildare have a lot of options in there around, in their attack, and even Kevin Flynn quite early on in midfield was very impressive. Hit a couple of points early on in the game. So from a Kildare point of view, they kept fighting. They never gave up, and they lived with Kerry. They stuck with Kerry, and I think that was the most important thing. Really, was the fact that they didn't allow Kerry to pull away, and they made life difficult for Kerry. They really did. They got in their faces. There was a couple of stages where Clifford was getting the ball, and he's 2-3 men around him. And they just made life very, very unpleasant for Kerry. They really did. And I thought that was, Glenn Ryan would be very, very happy about that, and great things to see from a Kildare point of view. And, Kildare are obviously favourites to get relegated. Only time will tell if they do or they don't. But this is a great start. It is, not necessarily the result, but, well, the result is good in one essence, because obviously, you're drawn with the All-Ireland favourites in Kerry, but their performance was very impressive as well. And they just didn't lie down. They didn't die. And they stuck with Kerry throughout the entirety of the game. And, they gave themselves a fighting chance going into the final 10 to 15 minutes. But definitely the game was there to be won from a Kerry point of view. Like, I don't think they scored at all in the final 16 to 17 minutes, which was just really poor, in my opinion. And their forwards as well, like it wasn't like they were missing tons of opportunities or putting a whole host of opportunities wide. They just weren't creating enough, really. And it did look like they were missing Sean O'Shea in that kind of 10 role, in my opinion. Anyways, like he just didn't have the same influence in midfield. So that's definitely something for Kerry to work on. But like looking at their forwards, 2 points from Paddy Clifford, who actually played well, to be fair, probably one of Kerry's best players on the day. Paul Ganey with a point, David Clifford with 2 points, Killian Spillane with a goal. So, they just didn't really have enough going forward, which you wouldn't really associate with Kerry normally. You just wouldn't normally associate Kerry struggling with their forwards. But yeah, they just didn't quite have that balance between attacking and defending today, in my opinion. Sharon Hegarty says there, did you watch the Tyrone and Monaghan game? Yeah, I did watch it, and we'll be sure to discuss it in the podcast tomorrow. But, it was an interesting game, wasn't it, as well? Rory Begum nearly playing a full forward at different stages was extremely fascinating there. But, and interesting enough, all four of the All-Ireland semi-finalists from last year finish this weekend winless, and 3 draws as well. So Dublin sit bottom of Division 1. Wow, who would have thought that? But, and to be fair, in this game, for both Kildare and Kerry, like I suppose for Kerry, a bit of pressure on them now going into that Dublin game as well, because if they were to lose that game, then it's 2 games without a win for Jack O'Connor, and all of a sudden, I think a lot of people had Kerry to win the league. If they lose to the Dubs next weekend, I mean, they might be. I don't think they'll be in a relegation battle or anything like that. Like, let's not go as far as that. But there's pressure then on Jack O'Connor. There's massive pressure on him then. If they do go and lose to Dublin next week. But obviously Dublin, who lost yesterday to Armagh, all of a sudden there's more pressure on both managers, really, and it's going to make that game next weekend really, really interesting, and it's probably going to add maybe a level of spice to it, really, with the fact that neither Kerry or Dublin looks particularly great in the opening weekend of the league. But credit has to go to Kildare. As I said, they fought with Kerry. They stuck with them throughout the entirety of the game. Kevin Flynn in midfield, very impressive. Probably my man of the match personally. But Paddy Woodgate as well, great addition to the team. And I think you're seeing Glenn Ryan, Johnny Doyle and these guys, like they know Kildare in and out. They know those players who were there back in 2018. They've seen obviously a lot of the club games. They've had their boots on the ground in Kildare for quite a long time. So, the fact that they're bringing those players through now, I think is a massive, massive positive, because, if you win an under-20 All-Ireland and those players aren't playing for the county in 4 or 5 years down the line, you'd wonder, like, what on earth has gone wrong there. So, yeah, fair play to Kildare there for getting that late point, getting that late draw, and certainly it will serve them well going into next weekend's game. Jack Nulty says Clifford was off today as well. It's early days. Game will tell. Next game will tell a lot. Sean O'Shea was poor too. Can't see 2 bad games from them. Yeah, and I don't know, like, interesting enough, like Kerry looked a little bit like they were lacking energy as well, or fitness or whatever. Did they go too strong in the McGrath Cup? Were they going all guns blazing in the McGrath Cup, and maybe has that come back to bite them a little bit, because they did look a little leggy in the final 10 to 15 minutes, and they didn't really have much, like, even looking at their bench as well. Like, Tony Brosnan came off the bench and scored, but they didn't really have, there wasn't really too many players there who came off the bench and made a difference. But it'd be interesting to see what happens with Kerry. And I think, their midfield definitely needs to be addressed. I mean, interesting that Stefan Ockenbohr wasn't involved at all. I don't know if that's an injury or what the case is there. You'd know David Moran as well. So there is midfielders in there. Jack Barry potentially to come back into the team. But I think that was the big weakness there. Sharon Hegarty says Dublin will struggle against Kerry. They probably will, but I suppose we'll see what happens. Obviously, when that game comes around next weekend, I'm definitely very excited for it. But it will be an interesting game, no doubt about it, and definitely pressure on both managers. And whoever loses that game could potentially be in a lot of trouble this year. They really could. But yeah, it'll be very, very fascinating game when it comes around. But yeah, in the end, Kildare 13 points, Kerry 110. Cheers anyone who tuned in to the match reaction. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And make sure to stay tuned for the full review weekend podcast will be out tomorrow, looking at all the games across all 4 divisions. There was definitely some big results this weekend. You had London winning, you had Antrim winning in the lower divisions. Obviously, Mayo with that late draw against Donegal today as well. So we'll be discussing all that tomorrow live at some time in the evening. So stay tuned for that. And cheers anyone who tuned into the live stream. And I will see you all later.